I smooth the linen tablecloth with both hands, working out invisible wrinkles. The china plates me grandmother's Wedgwood with pale pink rose sketch, the afternoon light streaming through the dining room windows. I fold each cloth napkin into a turkey, the way Mom taught me when I was 12, and arrange them beside the crystal water glasses. Savannah, have you seen my reading glasses? Mom calls from the kitchen. Check your sweater pocket, I answer, stepping back to admire my handiwork. The table looks perfect. Norman Rockwell perfect. American tradition perfect. A tableau of family harmony that couldn't be further from what's actually brewing beneath the surface. Mom shuffles into the dining room, each step a careful negotiation with pain. Her right hand presses against her hip, face tightening with the effort of appearing normal. You've outdone yourself, she says, touching the centerpiece of fall chrysanthemums and maple leaves I arranged earlier. Everything looks beautiful. How's the pain today? I ask, watching her lower herself into her chair at the head of the table. Nothing I can't handle. Her smile doesn't reach her eyes. Just the usual. What she means is excruciating. What she means is debilitating. What she means is worsening by the week. The surgery she needs, the one that could give her back her mobility. Her independence, hangs just out of reach behind a wall of insurance denials and prohibitive costs. I'll get you some water and your medication, I say. No pills today, not with everyone coming. She waves me off. I don't want to be foggy for dinner. Before I can argue, she pushes herself up with a small gasp and heads toward her study. I follow quietly, watching as she pulls open the bottom desk drawer and slides a stack of papers underneath a photo album. Hospital bills. The edge of one pokes out bold red letters spelling final notice, visible before she closes the drawer with a decisive click. Our eyes meet. For a moment, worry crosses her fastenot for herself, but concern that I've seen too much. Just tidying up, she says brightly. David and Karen will be here any minute. As if summoned by his name, the crunch of tires on gravel announces my brother's arrival. Through the front window, I watch David park his gleaming black SUV, brand new, at least $72,000 worth of luxury vehicle, at the end of the driveway. Karen steps out from the passenger side, smoothing her crimson dress, looking uncomfortable as David adjusts his designer sunglasses in the side mirror. They're here, I tell Mom, offering my arm for support. The doorbell chimes, and I open it to David's broad smile, too white and too practiced, the same smile he uses to close real estate deals. Happy Thanksgiving, little sister. He swoops in for a hug that smells of expensive cologne. The market's been insane, but I made sure to clear my calendar for family. He hands me a bottle of wine that costs more than I make in a day. Karen offers a genuine hug. It's good to see you, Savannah. Something in her eyes suggests she means it, unlike my brother. Before I can respond, another car pulls into the driveway, a red compact with Lindsay at the wheel. She emerges with an armful of shopping bags, designer logos prominently displayed. Sorry I'm late, she calls, tottering up the walkway in heels that probably cost what Mom pays in monthly utilities. The stores were packed. Pre-Black Friday sales you wouldn't believe. And so it begins. Dinner progresses with the forced cheer of people performing familial happiness. David dominates the conversation, talking about property developments and once-in-a-lifetime opportunities while Karen studies her plate. Lindsay interrupts to model her new bracelet. I saved up for months, though I know her part-time retail job barely covers her apartment rent. I notice everything. The way David's eyes dart to Mom whenever the conversation turns to finances. The way Lindsay offers elaborate explanations for her purchases without being asked. The way Mom winces when she thinks no one is looking, struggling to serve the meal she insisted on cooking despite my offers to handle everything. I'm not just a daughter and sister today. I'm a senior internal auditor watching numbers that don't add up. Pumpkin or apple pie? Mom asks as we clear the main course dishes. Both for me, David announces, patting his flat stomach. I'll work it off tomorrow. I'm reaching for the dessert plates when David stands abruptly. His chair scrapes against the hardwood floor, the sound slicing through the room like a warning. Actually, before dessert, there's something we need to discuss. His voice drops an octave, taking on the gravity he reserves for serious matters. I know what you did, Savannah. The room falls silent. Karen's fork clatters against her plate. Excuse me? I say, my hands perfectly steady as I set down the stack of plates. The money, David continues, his face flushing. Mom's surgery money. All $47,500 of it. I feel four pairs of eyes on me. David's accusatory. Lindsay's triumphant. Karen's confused. And worst of all, Mom's filled with dawning hurt. The money for Mom's surgery is gone because of you. David's voice rises, bouncing off the dining room walls. Who else has access to her accounts? Who else knows her passwords? Who else works with numbers all day? Lindsay jumps in, her voice sharp as broken glass. You've always been Mom's favorite. How could you do this to her? Mom's eyes fill with tears, disappointment etching new lines into her face. Karen glances between David and me, clearly trying to piece together a puzzle she didn't know existed until this moment. I should feel shocked, blindsided. But some part of me has been waiting for this ever since I noticed the first discrepancies in Mom's bank statements a month ago. Since David started driving that SUV while claiming his business was struggling, since Lindsay's shopping sprees accelerated without explanation. I think, I say, my voice low and controlled, we all need to take a breath and look at the facts. David slams his hand on the table, making the crystal glasses jump. The facts are clear. Either return the money by tomorrow, or don't expect to see Mom again. I look directly at my brother, then my sister, seeing them clearly perhaps for the first time. Then I meet my mother's gaze, holding it steady as I speak. I didn't take the money, I say calmly. But I know who did. The next morning, after all the drama, shouting, and door slamming, I spread bank statements across my childhood bed like playing cards in a game of high-stakes solitaire. The faded lavender wall sun changed since my high school days watch as I pieced together my siblings' betrayal. You always were good with puzzles, Mom says from the doorway, leaning heavily against the frame. She's refused her pain medication again, stubborn pride winning over comfort. This isn't a puzzle I wanted to solve. I tap my pen against a withdrawal slip. Did you know David visited your bank on the 12th of October? Mom's forehead creases. I was in surgery that day, the consultation appointment. Exactly. I slide the paper toward her. $22,000, one withdrawal, your signature. But I never. She moves closer, wincing as her hip protests. I know. I pull out my phone and tap the screen. The bank manager sent me this yesterday when I called about discrepancies. Security footage shows David at the teller window, baseball cap pulled low but not low enough. The timestamp matches precisely, 2:17 p.m. on the 12th of October. Mom was under anesthesia while her son emptied her account. There's more. I hesitate, watching her face carefully. Lindsay opened 3 credit cards in your name. Mom sinks onto the edge of the bed, papers crinkling beneath her. No, she wouldn't. Designer clothes, salon visits, online shopping sprees. I hand her the statements with Lindsay's shipping address highlighted in yellow. Almost 19,000 total. The morning light streaks through half-closed blinds, painting prison bars across Mom's face as she studies the evidence. Her hands shake slightly, paper trembling like autumn leaves. I need to lie down, she whispers. I help her to her room, tucking her in like she used to do for me. She looks smaller somehow, as if the truth has physically diminished her. I leave her to rest, but sleep evades me. I pace the hallway, rehearsing confrontations until dawn breaks. The kitchen is still dark when David arrives. He uses his key without knocking, expecting coffee before heading to his office. Jesus, Savannah, he startles when I flip on the light. What are you doing sitting in the dark? Waiting for you. I slide the bank statement across the counter. The 12th of October. Recognize the date? His face changes so quickly I almost miss the flash of panic before indignation takes its place. Going through Mom's private papers now? Classy. Mom was in surgery. You were at Centennial Bank. I placed my phone on the counter, security footage queued up. The manager remembered you, said you seemed nervous. David's shoulders sag, his designer suit suddenly looking like borrowed clothes. You don't understand the pressure I'm under. Explain it to me then. My voice remains level, though my heart hammers against my ribs. The bank was foreclosing on our house. He runs his hands through carefully styled hair, 3 months behind on payments, the dealership threatening to repossess the SUV. His voice cracks. What was I supposed to do? Let my family end up homeless? You were supposed to live within your means instead of stealing from your mother. The words taste bitter, medicinal. It wasn't stealing, it was borrowing. I was going to pay it back when the Franklin Street development closed. The one that fell through in August? I pushed the withdrawal slip toward him. You forged her signature. That's a felony. The back door opens. Lindsay freezes in the doorway, designer sunglasses perched on her head despite the early hour. Family meeting? Her smile falters when she sees our expressions. Perfect timing. I spread the credit card statements like a dealer at a blackjack table. Neiman Marcus, Sephora, Net, Porter, all on cards you opened in Mom's name. Lindsay's face flushes crimson. She never used that credit line anyway. It wasn't yours to use. Mom always gave you everything. Lindsay's voice rises, mascara-rimmed eyes flashing. The college fund, the car, the praise. It was my turn to have something nice for once. By committing identity theft? That's a bit dramatic, she scoffs, but her eyes dart toward the exit. No, dramatic is what the police will call it when I file a report. David steps between us. You wouldn't dare. Try me. The shuffle of slippers against hardwood silences us all. Mom stands in the doorway, face pale but composed. I heard shouting. Her eyes move from the statements to her children's faces. Is it true? Both of you? Before either can answer, her phone rings. She answers with shaking hands, listening intently. I understand. Yes. Thank you for calling. Her voice sounds distant, hollow. She hangs up and looks directly at David and Lindsay. That was Dr. Harrington's office. They've canceled my surgery. The payment bounced. The silence stretches between us like a chasm. I pull out my own phone. I'm transferring $15,000 from my emergency fund. It won't cover everything, but it will keep your surgical appointment on the calendar. Savannah, no. Mom reaches for my hand. That's your house down payment. Houses can wait. Your health can't. David and Lindsay stare at the floor, momentary shame crossing their features before resentment hardens their expressions again. You always were her favorite, Lindsay mutters. No, Mom says quietly. She was just the only one who never saw me as an ATM. The kitchen clock ticks loudly in the silence that follows, marking the exact moment our family fractures beyond simple repair. The next week, on Monday, the phone rings at 6 a.m. I fumble for it in the darkness, squinting at the screen. Aunt Patricia. What were you thinking, Savannah? Her voice cuts through the line without preamble. Your mother raised you better than this. I sit up, sleep evaporating. Excuse me? David called last night. He told us everything. Each word drops like a stone. After all Margaret has done for you, how could you cause such trouble at Thanksgiving? My stomach knots. Before I can respond, she continues, Your uncle and I are disappointed, deeply disappointed. The line goes dead. I stare at the phone, the pieces falling into place. David has started his campaign. By noon, my phone buzzes with notifications. A Facebook post from Lindsay shows a childhood photo of the three of us in matching Christmas sweaters. Family is everything until someone decides money matters more. Heartbroken. Family drama. Comments flood in. Cousins, former neighbors, high school acquaintances all expressing shock and offering support to my struggling siblings. Mom sits at her kitchen table, looking smaller than yesterday. Her reading glasses perch on her nose as she scrolls through her iPad, flinching occasionally at what she sees. They're saying such terrible things about you, she whispers, her finger hovering over David's latest post. Maybe we should just let this go. Family is family. I take the iPad gently from her hands. Is that what you want? Her eyes meet mine, then slide away. I don't know what I want anymore. The doorbell chimes. Mom startles, her hand flying to her throat. I'll get it, I say, squeezing her shoulder as I pass. Karen stands on the porch, her face pale, eyes rimmed red. She clutches her purse against her chest like armor. Is David here? She asks, glancing over her shoulder at the empty driveway. No. She exhales. Good. We need to talk. In the living room, Karen perches on the edge of the sofa, shoulders hunched. Bill collectors called our house this morning, she says, voice barely above a whisper. 3 different ones. The mortgage, the car loan, his business line of credit. She looks up, eyes haunted. He told me business was booming, but they're threatening to repossess everything. Mom sinks into her chair. Oh, Karen. There's more. Karen opens her purse, pulling out a stack of credit card statements. I found these hidden in his golf bag, all maxed out. All in his name, and she pushes them across the coffee table toward me. I flip through them. David's name and Mom's. I'm so sorry, Margaret, Karen says, tears spilling. I had no idea. I leave them talking and drive straight to Meridian Bank. Gloria Watkins has been Mom's personal banker for 15 years. An hour later, she listens without interruption as I lay out the evidence. Withdrawal slips with forged signatures, transactions made when Mom was hospitalized, credit cards opened without authorization. Your professional reputation speaks for itself, Miss Brooks, Gloria says when I finish. We take elder financial abuse very seriously. She taps at her computer, then swivels the monitor toward me. Security footage from October shows David at the teller window, Mom's checkbook in hand. The timestamp matches her hip surgery. There's a pattern here, I say, throat tight. Every major withdrawal coincides with Mom's hospital stays or doctor appointments. Gloria nods grimly. Let me pull the records for the past 18 months. The timeline emerges with brutal clarity. Small withdrawals at first, then larger sums as Mom's health declined. Credit card applications submitted online during her overnight hospital stays. Her social security number used to open store credit accounts. A methodical, calculated betrayal spanning nearly 2 years. When I return home, Mom's living room has transformed. Her doctor sits beside her on the sofa, reviewing paperwork. My boss stands by the window, phone pressed to his ear. 2 neighbors arrange casserole dishes on the dining room table. What's happening? I ask, setting down my briefcase filled with bank documents. Mom looks up, something new in her eyes. Resolve. Dr. Landon has agreed to reschedule my surgery next week with the partial payment we can provide, she says. Your boss, Jeff, is arranging for you to work remotely during my recovery. Jeff gives me a thumbs up from across the room. Family medical leave plus flexible hours. We've got you covered, Savannah. The doorbell rings again. This time it's David and Lindsay, striding in with the confidence of people who expect forgiveness simply because they're family. Mom, we need to talk about. David stops short, taking in the gathering. Mom rises slowly, one hand on her cane. Yes, we do need to talk. Her voice carries a weight I've never heard before. I've seen the evidence. I know what you've done. I step forward, opening my briefcase on the coffee table. Inside, every fraudulent transaction is documented, organized chronologically, with supporting evidence attached. 18 months of systematic theft laid bare. This isn't about Thanksgiving, I say quietly. This is about what you've been doing since Dad died. David's face flushes. You don't understand the pressure I've been under, the housing market. Stop. Mom's command silences the room. No more excuses. Lindsay's eyes dart from the papers to the faces watching her. Everyone makes mistakes, Mom. We're still family. Yes, Mom says, her voice steady despite the tears gathering in her eyes. We are family. That's why this hurts so much. She looks between her children, the truth now visible in the harsh light of documentation and witnesses. And that's why there have to be consequences. At the present moment, the police station smells like industrial cleaner and burnt coffee. My mother sits beside me, her hands folded in her lap, knuckles white. We've been here for 3 hours. The hard plastic chair presses against her bad hip, but she hasn't complained once. Detective Alvarez slides another form across the desk. This completes the identity theft report. Next, we need to document the unauthorized withdrawals. I glance at Mom. Her face has aged 10 years since Thanksgiving dinner. The skin beneath her eyes hangs in purple half-moons. She hasn't slept more than 2 hours at a stretch since we discovered what David and Lindsay did. Mrs. Brooks? The detective speaks gently. I know this is difficult, but we need your signature on these complaint forms. Mom stares at the papers, her reading glasses perched on the end of her nose. Her hand trembles as she reaches for the pen. I never thought I'd be turning my own flesh and blood over to authorities. Her voice cracks. She signs her name Margaret Elizabeth Brooks with painful deliberation, each stroke of the pen a small betrayal of maternal instinct. I place my hand on her shoulder. You're doing the right thing, Mom. Am I? She looks up at me, eyes glassy with unshed tears. What kind of mother sends her children to jail? The kind who taught them about consequences, I answer. The kind who respects herself enough not to be their victim. Detective Alvarez collects the signed forms. We'll move forward with the investigation. Financial crimes against the elderly are taken very seriously in this jurisdiction. Mom winces at the word elderly. She's only 66. Outside the station, an hour later, rain mists the parking lot. I help Mom into the passenger seat of my car, adjusting the heat to ease her joint pain. Before I can start the engine, my phone buzzes with a message from my office receptionist. David is here. Security called. He's demanding to see you. Go, Mom says, reading my expression. I'll be fine at home. You need to handle this. An hour later, the security guard meets me at the office entrance, his face grim. Your brother's making quite a scene, Miss Brooks. I hear David before I see him. His voice bounces off the marble walls of our corporate lobby. Where is she? I have a right to speak with my sister. He's dressed in his real estate finery-tailored suit, silk tie, Italian leather shoes. But his eyes are wild, hair disheveled. He's coming apart at the seams. You turned our mother against us, he shouts when he spots me. Heads turn throughout the lobby. You've always been jealous of me. I walk toward him with measured steps, keeping my voice low. You need to leave, David. You think you're so perfect. Spittle flies from his mouth. Saint Savannah, who never does anything wrong. Security flanks him on both sides. My colleagues watch from the reception desk, their expressions a mixture of concern and curiosity. This isn't the place, I say, maintaining eye contact. Your attorney can contact mine. You think I can afford an attorney now? His laugh turns into something like a sob. They're freezing my accounts. My clients are dropping me. For a moment, I glimpse the frightened boy beneath the mantha David, who broke Mom's antique vase at age 10 and begged me to help him hide it. But that was before he stole $47,500 from our mother while she lay in a hospital bed. You made your choices, I say, the words heavy on my tongue. Now face the consequences. Security escorts him out, his protests fading behind the glass doors. I stand motionless in the lobby, aware of every pair of eyes on me. My phone vibrates again. Lindsay. The third call in an hour. Her voicemails oscillate between tearful pleas and bitter accusations. Yesterday, she claimed to have a medical emergency. This morning, she confessed to a gambling addiction I know doesn't exist. Back at my desk, I find an email from the local newspaper requesting comment on a story they're running. Financial crimes against elderly parent. My stomach twists. Karen calls that afternoon. They've repossessed his SUV, she says without preamble. Right from the company parking lot, everyone watched. I'm sorry, I respond, unsure what else to say. Don't be. I filed for separation. Her voice is stronger than I've ever heard it. I had no idea how deep this went, Savannah. The lies, the debt. He opened credit cards in my name. The theft charges against Lindsay triggered an investigation at her workplace. By evening, she's been fired for inventory discrepancies spanning months. The family fractures along predictable lines. Mom's sister arrives from Florida to help with her recovery after surgery. Uncle Robert calls to tell me I'm tearing the family apart. Cousin Jennifer posts a Thanksgiving photo on Facebook with the caption, "Family means forgiveness, not police reports." But others rally around us. Mom's church brings meals. My boss adjusts my schedule so I can drive her to physical therapy. Even Dad's old teaching colleagues stop by with books and puzzles for her recovery. A week after filing the police report, I receive a call from an attorney representing David and Lindsay. My clients are prepared to make full restitution if Mrs. Brooks will drop the charges. I sit at Mom's kitchen table, phone pressed to my ear. She watches me from her recliner, surgical wound still healing beneath her robe. This isn't about money anymore, I say, holding my mother's gaze. This is about trust. and once broken, it can't be repaired with a checkbook. After I hang up, Mom reaches for my hand. Perhaps we should consider it. They're still my children. I squeeze her fingers gently. And you're still their mother. That's why they need to understand that actions have consequences. Something shifts in her eyes, a quiet resolution forming beneath the grief. She nods once, decisively. Outside her window, the first snow of winter begins to fall, each flake a small, perfect thing disappearing into the gathering darkness. A week later, I sit in the gallery's hard wooden bench, spine straight as a ruler, watching David and Lindsay enter through the side door. They've dressed for sympathy, David, in a modest gray suit that's a far cry from his usual designer labels. Lindsay in a cream blouse and simple black skirt, her makeup understated, her jewelry conspicuously absent. Their attorney, a silver-haired man with practiced gravitas, guides them to their seats with a paternal hand on each shoulder. Mom sits beside me, her back equally straight despite the pain I know still radiates from her hip. The surgery helped, but healing takes time she shouldn't have had to wait for in the first place. You okay? I whisper, noticing how she twists her wedding ring, a nervous habit from 30 years of marriage. Just get through it, she answers, eyes fixed forward. David glances over his shoulder, catches my gaze, then turns to Mom with an expression of wounded betrayal so perfect it could win him an acting award. Lindsay dabs at dry eyes with a tissue. Their attorney rises when the judge enters. Your Honor, what we have here is a profound family misunderstanding. These children love their mother deeply. I nearly choke on the word children. David is 38, Lindsay 30. Yet here they sit, playing the role of misguided kids who made a simple mistake. 3 character witnesses parade through the mourning: David's former scoutmaster, their childhood piano teacher, a church elder who's known the family for decades. Each one speaks of good children from a good home, as if the people sitting at the defense table are still teenagers who took the family car without permission. Their attorney's closing salvo cuts deepest. Your Honor, we must consider that Mrs. Brooks was taking substantial pain medication during many of these transactions. Her memory of giving permission may be compromised. Mom stiffens beside me. I reach for her hand and find it cold. When it's our turn, I approach the witness stand with the accordion folder I've carried for months. Each document inside represents a betrayal, every spreadsheet a broken trust, meticulously organized and color-coded. Miss Brooks, please explain what you discovered about your mother's finances, the prosecutor prompts. I open the folder and begin. On the 12th of October, $12,500 was withdrawn from my mother's surgical savings account. The withdrawal slip shows a signature that mimics my mother's, but contains discrepancies in the formation of the M and the connecting stroke between letters. I place the document under the projection. Camera. At this time, my mother was in pre-op for her initial consultation, sedated for preliminary tests. The bank manager testifies next, confirming the surveillance footage that shows David at the counter during the exact time Mom was across town in a hospital gown. The pattern of withdrawals directly corresponds with Mrs. Brooks' medical appointments. I continue, displaying a timeline I've created. 17 separate incidents of financial exploitation, totaling $47,500. David stares at the wall above my head, jaw clenched. Lindsay examines her fingernails. Neither will look at the evidence. When Karen takes the stand, her voice trembles. She's lost weight since filing for separation, her wedding ring noticeably absent. When did you first become suspicious of your husband's financial activities? The prosecutor asks. Karen glances at David, who finally meets someone's eyes. His look could freeze water. When he came home with a $72,000 SUV the same week he told me we couldn't afford our son's braces. She answers. I found credit card statements in Margaret's name hidden in his desk drawer. By afternoon, the timeline of theft spans the projection screen: birthdays, holidays, hospital stays, all marked by withdrawals, forged checks, and fraudulent credit applications. Mrs. Brooks, the judge says after the evidence portion concludes, would you like to make a statement to the court? Mom nods. I help her stand, steadying her as she makes her way to the witness stand. The courtroom falls silent. Even the court reporter's fingers hover motionless above her stenotype. Mom settles into the chair, adjusts her glasses, and looks directly at David and Lindsay for the first time today. "I changed your diapers," she begins, her voice soft but steady. "I kissed scraped knees, checked homework, drove carpools. I worked double shifts after your father died to keep you both in college. I taught you right from wrong before you could tie your own shoes." The courtroom remains absolutely still. "I didn't raise you to become thieves," she continues. "I didn't raise you to steal from anyone, let alone your own mother. While I lay in a hospital bed, you took money meant for my surgery. You didn't just take my savings. You took my dignity, my independence, my trust." David's attorney shifts in his chair but doesn't interrupt. "I love you both," Mom says, her voice cracking slightly. "I always will, but love doesn't mean there aren't consequences for your actions, and it doesn't mean I can trust you again." When the verdicts are announced, David stares straight ahead, 15 months for fraud, identity theft, and elder abuse. Lindsay crumples forward at her 9-month sentence, plus probation and mandatory financial counseling. Full restitution ordered with penalties. Reality finally reaches their faces. The masks of contrition slip, revealing shock, then anger, then at last genuine fear. Mom sits with quiet dignity, shoulders back, hands folded in her lap. I've never seen her look so small, yet so immovable. Outside, reporters thrust microphones toward us as we leave half an hour later. Mom grips my arm for support, but her chin remains high. "We have no comment," I say, "except to say that justice was served today." The drive home passes in silence. Traffic lights change, windshield wipers sweep away spring rain, but neither of us speaks until we're sitting at the kitchen table, coats still on, and keys beside untouched cups of tea I've automatically prepared. "Where did I go wrong with them?" Mom finally whispers, her composure cracking like thin ice. I move to kneel beside her chair, taking her weathered hands in mine. "You didn't go wrong, Mom. They did." She breaks then, deep, body-shaking sobs that have waited months to surface. I hold her as we both grieve the family we thought we had, the ones smiling from framed photos that still line the hallway, frozen in happier times that now feel like elaborate lies. At the present, I snap a fresh tulip bulb into the soil, nestling it 3 inches below the surface, just as my father taught me. The garden smells of autumn decaying leaves and the promise of frost. Mom kneels beside me, her new hip allowing her to garden again after 18 months of pain. "That's your 12th bulb," she notes, marking the spot with a small wooden stake. "You always were thorough." "Unlike some people in this family," I say, then immediately regret it. 6 months since the trial, and still the wounds feel raw. Mom's hands pause over the soil. "David's letter came yesterday." My shoulders tense. "What did he want?" "He's being released next month, wants to visit." She presses another bulb into the earth, her fingers working with renewed strength. "Her physical therapy has progressed remarkably. The surgeon says she's healing faster than patients 20 years younger." "And what did you tell him?" I keep my voice neutral, though my heart hammers against my ribs. "Nothing yet." She sits back on her heels, wiping soil from her palms. "I'll cross that bridge when I come to it." The security system I installed beeps softly as Karen's car pulls into the driveway. She emerges with 4-year-old Lucas clutching a construction paper turkey. Since filing for divorce from David, Karen has become a fixture at our table, the unexpected blessing from our family's implosion. "They're here early," Mom says, rising slowly. I extend my arm for support, noting how she no longer winces with each movement. "Your Aunt Patricia called. She and Uncle Robert will be a little late." Inside, the dining room looks nothing like last year's elaborately staged disaster. The table is smaller, set for 6 instead of 5. The china remains the same Wedgwood with pale pink roses, but the memories attached to it have transformed. "Something smells wonderful," Karen says, helping Lucas remove his coat. "We brought cranberry sauce." Mom hugs them both, lingering with Lucas. Perfect timing. Savannah was just telling me about her speech at the senior center yesterday. You should have seen her. Mom tells Karen, 30 seniors taking notes on how to protect themselves from financial fraud. Her voice breaks slightly. Even after everything, some good has come of it. I arranged napkin simple rectangles this year, no turkey shapes, while Karen helps Lucas wash his hands. The doorbell chimes. Our neighbors, the Robertsons, who brought casseroles weekly during Mom's recovery and have somehow become family. Later, after pie and coffee, I find Mom in the kitchen, staring at a letter on the counter. Lindsay's prison stationery. Her third letter this month, each one more genuinely contrite than the last. I keep thinking about what I could have done differently as a mother, Mom says quietly, tracing the envelope's edge. I place my hands on her shoulders. You taught us right from wrong. They made their choices. Family isn't just an obligation, she says, turning to face me. It's a choice built on respect and trust. We return to the garden as afternoon shadows lengthen across the lawn. I help Mom lower herself onto the bench we position to overlook next spring's tulip bed. These won't bloom for months, she says, but we're putting down roots for the future. I notice David's letter peeking from her pocket. Whatever you decide about David's visit, we'll face it together. She nods, her eyes clear and resolute. I never thought I'd say this, but losing what I thought was my family helped me recognize the one I actually have. The sun dips behind the maple trees. In the distance, Lucas's laughter drifts from the kitchen window. We sit in comfortable silence, two survivors planting hope in soil enriched by painful wisdom.